about Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call that.
Mike Sikorsky.
Here.
Glenn Vandewater.
Here.
Nate Brockman.
Here.
Russ Ross. Absent Joe Kaplan.
Here. Approval of agenda. Is there anything to add?
No changes.
No changes?
None for me.
All right. How about a motion? Accepted.
So moved.
And that's
I'll second it.
Sikorsky, Glenn Vandewater. Anybody else? Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Conflict of interest disclosure?
None.
No conflict of interest disclosure? Public comment on agenda items. Anybody like to address the board? Rory, please.
See if anybody else wanted to go. The reason I came tonight, I see, and you can address it then, Joe, if you, or anybody can. 12E, the joint ownership.
What the?
That came off of the Velcro and
It
then
was the-
came off of the cord.
That was the
A
camera.
Wi-Fi extender or something.
Was.
Must be a sign from God for me to sit down. Okay, well, I'll try to get this quick.
Oh
Is,
my
You got
Wi-Fi
12E, the dump
extender.
trailer. I didn't come last
No,
month because
just-
of the, Valentine's Day. But, the month before that, I know we talked about, you were gonna try to see if you, cause I gave you a copy of my copy of when the title came, from the previous owners, they were just copies. And I was just curious, like I said, you can answer it then if, you know, rather than here, cause it's just public comment, but I was just curious if you did find that, cause I looked a little before I left, but I could not.
Okay.
So thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? No public comment? All right, we're into the thick of it. Well, not yet, but approval of meeting minutes from February 14th, 2024 regular board meeting. Any comments?
No, I looked at them, I didn't see anything.
No? Anybody want to make a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion that we accept the, meeting minutes from February 14th.
Great. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. Treasurer's report.
Mike did not print out any treasury reports.
And there's a reason for that. Reconciliation is beginning with the accountant, so
Yes.
there was no reason to print out something that's clearly gonna change once all the big statements for the last 5 months are reconciled.
Correct.
And we'll have to rebuild those reports as well, so. We have a lot of money in the bank and,
We're doing okay.
we're doing okay. Standing committee reports, personnel. None?
No, I don't think so.
Property and equipment.
The only thing we have, we're looking at putting together yet
We're-
a complete list. When we can get everything together, then we'll, put it, if I can get the complete list of what we have and then match it with actually what we can account for, and then we'll bring it forth on what we wanna do
All right.
with the equipment. So at this
Also-
time, we're still in the searching process.
Inventory, so what?
Yeah.
That would be it.
Yeah, we're looking at coming up with an inventory list of what we should have, what we can actually verify that we do have.
Gotcha, okay. Moving on to records, all I have to report is I've gotten some more records from, Terry Burkhart, our former council who resigned, last September 1st. So I think we're on like about round 3. And I think that's it for records. Finance, any updates on finance?
None.
Okay, I'll make a brief statement on the accounting firm update under unfinished business. MDR report. Rachel's not here, but do you have something?
Yeah, so that's in your packets. If she's not here, it looks like this. So you can take that and read that. I did send it out to staff when I got it, so they've had it. Yeah, that's it.
This is Bureau of Environmental Sustainability Conservation Stewardship Division.
Yeah, and she'll send that, every month, so if you want, I can send it as soon as I get it, or, would you prefer that? Or do you
I
like
would.
it here?
I'd
Send
like
it right away?
Yeah, so I
Okay.
can get a chance to read it.
Sure, I will make a note of that.
NRCS report, Mike Van White.
All right, so you should have a stack of paperwork. These should look like that. So part of my due diligence as district conservationist is to make board members aware annually some of our civil rights responsibilities, not only for me as the district conservationist and the staff that I have, but also the conservation district partner staff within our building, and kind of what we're needing everybody to do as far as responsibilities on selling our programs that we have to offer landowners, and then just as far as employees that are in the office. So I've got quite a few documents there, was it 8 or 10 or so? So instead of reading word by word each one for you, what you guys can do is kind of look it over between now and the next meeting. And that first couple pages, 2-3 pages, there's a checklist at the end that'll have you all sign sometime between now and maybe at the next board meeting, so. And then kind of to sum it up, so in that checklist, there's a few things I have to go over with you guys annually. The first has to do with the memorandum of agreement, which is the agreement between NRCS, MDARD, and the conservation districts. So for this year, that's easy. We don't have one yet. So it's been sitting on people's desks for quite a while. I'm not sure whose desk it is on right now. And maybe Heather, have you heard anything on that?
I have not.
Email traffic? Okay. But essentially that is the agreement that explains the relationship between, MDARD, the Conservation District, NRCS, and the relationship that we have and the joint mission that we have on furthering conservation here in Michigan. And then along with that, it'll detail responsibilities for district offices that are co-located with NRCS. So as the leaseholder, we expect to see services from the district to help offset the cost of that floor space that the district is renting. I don't have a good feeling on what that's gonna look like. Michigan hasn't had a very good memorandum of agreement for many years, it seems like. I came from Kansas and it was pretty well black and white on what they expected. So it'll be interesting to see what they hash out between the three agencies. Then next thing on my checklist is just discussing the demographic information of the district board. NRCS is an agency, we always encourage good diversity on the board. So women, minorities, things like that. Next item is occasionally I might bring to the board sensitive information, so applicant names, program participants, that kind of thing, locations of projects on the landscape, specific locations. So last month I brought to you guys some maps that had program dollars and numbers of contracts by county. So that's public information. You can share that with constituents, not a problem. But certain things, specific things definitely have to go through the FOIA process on that. And then all of our civil rights policy comes from the 1964 Civil Rights Act. So that packet of information that I've given you, just all stems from that. That's kind of our umbrella piece of legislation that all our other policies come from. And then NRCS employees and staff who work with USDA programs are required to guarantee fairness and equal treatment to all of our customers. I think that's pretty self-explanatory, and district policies are kind of a mirror image of that for programs offered by districts. And then, again, I've got all those documents here. If you have questions on anything, by all means, feel free to check in with me anytime. I think you all have my contact. You know where to find me as well. And then as far as those documents, they can basically be broken down into two sections. So customers and employees. So again, the customer side of things, making sure our programs are open and available to everybody. We're equitable in the way we're selling our programs. As far as employees go, USDA is an equal opportunity employer. So if we've got district staff that are being hired through NRCS grants, certainly, you know, we need to go through that process and make sure everybody is available to apply for those opportunities. And then the other thing with employees is just maintaining a good workplace, free of harassment, discrimination, that kind of thing. So again, if you would look that over, and then next month we'll follow up with that checklist and have you guys sign to basically affirm that you have read it and understand it.
Great, thank you.
Any questions?
You know, we're gonna be talking about confidentiality under new business and FOIA. So if it's a CTI program, right, then the FOIA would go through the NRCS.
Yep, if it's an NRCS program, so our Environmental Quality Incentives Program, our Conservation Stewardship Program, Regional Conservationist Partnership Program, all three of those programs get you a NRCS FOIA request. So.
Okay, and so MEP and FAP would be through the district.
Right, yep, those are
Okay,
MDARD
that's
programs.
Right, and MDARD, of course, since we're organized under Michigan Department of Agriculture, I mean, we're bound to the same standards as far as inclusion, non-discrimination,
Right, yeah,
service,
pretty
test,
similar.
yeah.
Similar language.
Is there any difference that we should be aware of?
Oh, not that I know of. I don't know MDARD's language. Rachel might be a good person.
Yeah, we've
to
been,
ask about that.
I mean, that's been an ongoing conversation as we sort of come, as we learn more about these programs.
Yeah, certainly all of our civil rights policy, again, is that 1964 Civil Rights Act, so it's
Right.
federal statutes, so, and I'm sure Michigan has their own statutes, but probably pretty similar, I would think.
Yeah, states are allowed to have stricter statutes, but not weaker ones.
Sure.
So, okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
Mike, good to see you. Staff reports.
Yay.
Heather Ledoux, thank you. Take it away, Heather.
Yeah, okay, so, real quick, there is a MEP. This one in here is Holly's MEP report. And I just got this one today, and then this one that looks like this is from Lindsay, that's the forest effect.
Forest assistance.
Yep.
Yes. So those are their staff reports. I wanna go over a couple of things. I guess to start it off with the MEP update, Glenn, you had brought up, the concern, you know, between MDARD and the state that they're looking at bringing the MEP program and then also cutting the funds with the operations grant. So you guys should have all got the email today. I don't know if you looked at it. See that one?
I did not look at
Okay, so I just highlighted, the main points is that MDARD is asking for 10.8 million to make the MEP program, you know, run through the state. And so they'll go from 38 MEP techs around the state to 24, and then put them in high priority areas. And yeah, then that would take the MEP program away from the districts. And then also cutting some of the operations grant too. I don't know the exact amount, but I thought it was from 40,000 to a piece to 26 approximate. But the MACD is trying to get, they're proposing $13 million, which is quite a big jump. But what they wanna do is have like about 173,000 for each district. That will help fund the district manager position, their conservation planner, and then provide benefits. I think this has gone on for a long time, so I don't know if that is obtainable, but that's what they're trying to do. So that's just an update, and they ask in this, you know, in this email to the directors to advocate as much as you can, because, you know, the staff can't advocate for their own positions, but you guys can write letter of support or get a hold of legislators and do whatever you can to help the district, so.
it. Just to be clear, This is only proposed.
Yes, and the budget will be out in June, but, so, you know, everybody's trying to do their part in it. I know Schoolcraft and Chippewa Loose Mac went and met with, Senator Preston on Monday.
Rep Preston.
Or, I'm sorry, what
Yeah,
did I
no.
say, Senator? Representative, yes, thank you.
He won't mind that mistake, I'm sure.
Okay, I'm a little
But
faint
that,
today.
that's in there for a
Can you
little
tell about
longer,
him?
so, yeah.
But they talked to him, and of course he's gonna advocate, you know,
Yeah.
I would think for sure he's gonna advocate for us up here in the UP, but, anything we can do, there's a legislative day that we're gonna go to, and coming up, I think,
When's that?
I don't remember,
Let us
maybe
know.
May or June, I mean, it's right around the time of the budget, I do that, but, anyway, just read through those emails, and there's a great, like, kind of checklist that you can go through and get more information on what MACD is asking the directors to do.
And MACD is Michigan,
Association
and
of Conservation
Conservation
Districts,
Districts,
yes, yes, the MOVA.
sort of the trade or lobby organization.
So, for tree sale, I think it's going good, I don't know, this is the first year I'm, doing it, I guess, without help or guidance, so, Roy had ordered everything, things are going pretty well. I think we're up to about 55,000. I have this that you can look at, but some of this is cash and, check. So this only reflects the credit cards sales, but people, for the most part, people seem to be liking the online and coming in with the kiosk, and then we can get, you know, some FaceTime with people when they do come in.
Are they using the kiosk?
Yep,
Okay.
it's usually like Holly or myself using it for
Yeah.
them, but we're, you know, they like the pictures, and, you know, there's a few that prefer the book, so we printed off, you know, a catalog, and we're trying to, you know, be able to help whoever in whatever means that they want, but,
What percent of the trees have been sold? You know?
well, I can tell you the most popular ones, and we are out of a few too now, so. A lot of the fruit is going, there's still some apples, but like Honeycrisp is, very popular right now. Red pine, Norway spruce, and white spruce, tamarack. Raspberries are going really well, the plums, the cherries, like a lot of the fruit, you know, like, the pears are almost gone. And the districts are all trying to get more of that, so we're gonna do some dealing and willing and dealing tomorrow, but, you know, like some bartering with some of them. But we do have quite a bit of, certain apples, I know, was it Wildlife Unlimited? That they came in and they're looking at maybe getting some high bush cranberries for their members, so we're waiting to hear back if that's what they want. And then also the brewery had looked at, I have to talk to Marley tomorrow, but seeing if they wanted to work something out, to give trees away for a tree sale, we would give them, you know, discounted price, so. So I can pass this around, and I have more information, it's just there's so many reports, so if there's a certain report you want, I can send that to you at any time. But this is just like a general. You can pass that down if you want, Glenn and I were on the news with, well, that was with you, really. And it seemed like a long time ago, sorry. We were on the news, I think that went really well, Glenn was great. And then we are on with Barbara Bellinger this Friday morning, so we'll be on TV6 too, promoting tree sale. And then we'll be in the newspaper on Saturday, that's kind of my tree sale update. We did meet with, Roger Levin, who is, Wild Rice Chief from LGD, that was pretty cool. I obviously wanna do things that I shouldn't be doing right now, so I got a little ahead of myself and invited Roger over, who helped, proclaim wild rice as the state grain, worked with the governor on that. So he is a friend of mine, and he came over and got to hang out with us, and we were talking with, Nick Castle about maybe getting some funding to do a restoration project here, working with Hannibal, so we'll see how that goes, but it's very, like, we're just starting talks on it. But Roger's just a fascinating person, and on the, Facebook page, that seemed to be the most popular post, was, you know, going out and seeing, I mean, we're just getting going with that, but I got, I said, hey, is anybody interested in Manoomin, learning about wild rice, and there seemed to be some interest there, so that was, uplifting. And then I'm doing quarterly reports, my first time ever. Rachel is coming next Wednesday, she's out of town this week, but she's gonna come next Wednesday and walk me through it, so we'll be meeting with Mike and the staff and going through each of those, and I'll get to know their grants more through that. I did meet with Michaela's, I've only had time to meet with one, it seems like the day slips away right now, but Michaela and I went over her grant, and it was really informational for me, and it was she was really great. So that's the update on the grants, and those are due at the end of the month anyway, so we'll knock those out. And then just working with Schoolcraft is, we're looking at maybe a native plant sale in June, kind of partnering with them, they already do it. But Ashley, their district manager, said it's pretty popular, so we don't know if there's interest here, we're just we're in talks right now about that. And I had some other stuff, but I don't wanna talk too long, so I think that's the main stuff. I could talk a long time, cause I do talk a lot, but I'm gonna stop talking right now. That's
Sure.
it, yeah.
Alright, thank
that's it.
you. Well done. Liaison Commissioners report. We don't have our liaison, that'd be Robert Barron, but we do have Stephen View in the house. Commissioner View.
I have nothing to report, I'm here for observation, just to get myself knowledgeable, and if Mr. Barron was here, I'd let him speak, cause, just glad to see everyone, and I'm always proud to be part of any organization to pass on to the board. Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Nice.
Unfinished business, Attorney General Assistance. I asked for an update, they're still working on it. That's about all you get, but, it was a quick reply, and it's, they're still reviewing past employment contracts, so we'll let them do their work. B, accounting firm update, Schneider, Larch, Hopala and Company, these are our accountants. I think this is the last time we're gonna have this on here, we can retire it. The transfer from our desktop version of QuickBooks to online is finally done, successful. And there's been a lot of work that went into that. It's gonna help streamline everything, to make reporting and facilitating reconciliation much easier, balancing accounts, producing reports, so, and there's basically the checks and balances, so like Mike and I can go on and run reports, but we don't have administrative privileges. And the accountant is doing basically all of them, so they're gonna have access to it, they're gonna pay our taxes, they're gonna basically maintain our QuickBooks, and they're also doing payroll. They don't use QuickBooks for payroll, but they have an internal system, so we're setting that up as well. We're gonna go to direct deposit for all employees, so we don't have to do checks when someone's in Arizona or someone's in Sugar Bush, who's not even on it, not the only one around, so, yeah, we're
Can I
setting,
interject?
of course.
So yeah, the employees did all fill out their direct deposit authorization forms, and I also have one for each of you, so if we ever have to pay you back, we can just deposit it into your check instead of printing checks, so I'll give it to you after the meeting, but.
Right, and then, the accountant said, reconciliation with past bank statements, I think going back almost 5 months, is supposed to start this week, or next, yeah, I think this week. So, and once that's done, then we'll be able to run reports that reflect, an updated reality. So, any questions on that?
That's great.
So I'm gonna strike that from old business, cause I think it's been finished. County financial obligation to the district, that's the 10% part of the contract for our last year as the district managing the parks. There's we've been basically waiting for that reconciliation with the bank so that we can do some basic auditing with that, make sure everything's complete. I spoke with Ashley Young, Administrator Young this morning about that. Steve Wary, employment compensation, well, district park manager, as I reported last time, that's the next item of unfinished business. That's with the county as well. Administrator Young, I don't know who's reviewing that, but I think we made a strong case through, the work agreement with Mr. Wary that, vetting what he said to what was shared with the previous board, and I'd say that he has a legitimate claim there. Moving right along, jointly owned dump trailer with Mr. Mattson and the county. I looked into that a bit, and in September, I don't know if I previously heard, but in September of 2022, that dump trailer was sold to Mr. Mattson for $2,000, according to our internal records. And $1,000 was put into the parks budget, and $1,000 reimbursed to the district. So that doesn't really mesh with what's been talked about here by the county commissioners, and so I'm still looking into that, what the implications of that mean. But it was sold to Mr. Mattson back in September of 2022, as far as I can tell. In order to license that trailer, or not license, but to transfer ownership of that trail, we would have to go back to the original owner and have them reissue a certificate of title. So I have all the paperwork from the Secretary of State, but I'm interested in really how the county wants to handle this. Because instead of the $2,000, they're only owed $1,000. They're reimbursed $1,000, they're out. We still have basically a $3,000 investment in it, as far as our books indicate. Good enough?
Interesting, yeah.
I guess it stays in whole business unless you have something.
Still there for a while.
You got any questions?
No.
Yeah, I'm confused.
What are you confused about?
Well, if it was sold in 2022, why was it still in the books, and why is it still in the mix?
I've turned it over to law enforcement, so
They'll figure it out.
they're gonna figure it out. I don't know if you know that. Yeah, I guess you don't, cause I haven't said it, but I can't figure it out. And, it's up to them to tell us what direction we should take on this.
Well, have you been able to decipher how it was originally purchased from the original owner?
I did. It was $4,000 of district funds and $2,000 out of park funds back in January of 2016.
So for a
January
total
15th.
of 6,000.
It was purchased for $6,000, no question. And the certificate of title I have wasn't completed. It has a sale date of 2016, and it has Roy Mattson dash Conservation District on it. And it was signed over by the previous owner. So clearly their intent was to sell it. But it was never registered to the district, and that was what the motion of that board made. So this, this testimony that, first right of refusal that Commissioner Moyle has mentioned several times, I went back through all the county meeting minutes from that time period. There was no discussion on it. And I did go back and listen to the recording from September of 2022, and it was a similar motion that happens quite a bit. A motion to sell, basically to sell excess equipment. Silk curtains, chimney, stovepipe, old dump trailer that nobody was using, and the truck. And the only thing that got sold in September of 22 was the dump trailer for $2,000.
And that's definitely the dump trailer in question.
No question.
Yeah, it is kinda confusing.
I understand. But
Sure, I'll figure it out.
Puzzle.
it's a bit of a puzzle. Moving right along, email requirements for board members. I was hoping that, did you talk to Russ? Ross, I thought he was back.
I talked to him a month ago.
Okay.
He said he was coming back in April.
If he comes back in April, I think we should just table this till he can
Right.
give us guidance. I mean, my preference is to have everyone under an MACD account, because it's backed up, it's accessible for FOIA, you're not using your personal accounts. I mean, our record retention is 7 years on email associated, so that's by law. So, you know, past board members, if we get a FOIA, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with that. I have to reach out, so I don't even know what Russ uses for his email, but if we have it under MACD, then we can retrieve that if we get a FOIA request. And we just got a huge one, but all the districts got it. So hopefully it's, yeah. And they're asking for a lot of things that need to be created, so I think it's one of these, you know, American transparency sort of things. Still waiting to see how we're gonna deal with it. I think we put it back onto them to contact us and
I
sort
think
this
some
out.
districts have just been giving them a fee schedule and asking them specific questions and they're not getting back to them.
That's usually what happens when you do a sort of shotgun FOIA, I guess. All right, we'll just table that one more time. New business, payment of bills. Thanks for sending this out at least 4 days ago, per our
Right.
motion from
Yeah, thank you.
ages
You're
ago.
welcome.
You're already doing better than,
That's
you're already
all right.
doing.
I'm gonna be able to hide my own Easter eggs this year
Sure.
too, so.
I'm gonna put it really big.
Great to have
Somebody that's
someone
right on top of it.
good. I couldn't seem to make that hit, but.
I move that we pay those bills.
Do you have any questions on the bills?
And just so you know that on some of the Amazon, there's about $500 being returned in returns. So, but we didn't have time to get that in time for this, so, with the accounting.
Okay. What are-
So we have it, it's already been put back on the credit card, it hasn't been entered on, like, these are just bills, so this minus $500.
Okay.
And you wanna explain the palm tree now?
Yeah, I ordered a desk and, to complete my U, and then the first one came and it was too short, and I sent it back, and then I got another one, and they sent the palm tree instead, so now. Mike, you saw it, right? Oh, you haven't seen it? Yeah, Holly goes, you ordered a palm tree?
For the record, they reimbursed the palm tree, right?
Well, we never were charged for it,
Okay.
but they just told me I could keep it. But I don't get the desk, which is fine.
Because you got a free one.
They reimbursed us
Yeah.
from the desk, and then
Okay.
I got one from Corey Kuchenberg, he donated a desk to us.
Excellent. So you'll just have to put a serial
So
number
now I
on
have a free palm tree with my new free desk.
You'll put a serial number on it and include it in the inventory?
The palm tree?
Yeah.
Sure. Stay in the district.
All right.
It's fake too, it's artificial.
I have a question. What are some of these staff charges here? What do those relate to? Lindsay Robinson stuff? I guess,
That would be her training, like, she went down to an Arbors Convention in Lansing, I think it was 3 days. And then she went to a luncheon, a fat luncheon up here, and then this was a site visit, there wasn't any, the NRCS vehicles, everybody was out that day. So she had to
so
take her own.
we are trying to use the NRCS vehicles when we can.
Oh,
and
yeah.
get signed up on them.
Yep, and we're gonna, then the truck, we were waiting for the gas card, we have the gas card now, so, they'll be able to use that. But also, I'm putting together, like, kind of more of a thorough reconciliation form for reimbursement, so instead of just, Lindsay gave me a great, like, Excel, you put your numbers in and it adds everything. But there's also gonna be another page where there'll be a summary of what you did and what can you do with it, and, that should be done in a week or so, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? How about a motion to pay our bills?
So moved.
Treasurer Mike
second.
Zagorski, Vice President Nate Rothman seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, new business.
Business B.
Allegations of misconduct against District Chair Kaplan by Commissioner Robert Barron. This occurred at the last commissioners meeting in this very room. And it was, well, if you haven't seen it in the paper, I'll leave you to, or on the evening news.
Or on
I'll
YouTube.
leave it to you, or YouTube, or wherever. Unfortunate situation, because the two allegations that were made by Commissioner Barron is, one, that we're discriminating against, the county because we were asking questions about the program. So basically, an internal dialogue between Heather, myself, and a staff person somehow made it to Bob Barron, and he misinterpreted that as somehow we're discriminating against the county. I can assure you, we're not discriminating against the county. Specifically, the county evidently has lands enrolled in the MEAP program, the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assistance Program. And I'm gonna go over details of that and confidentiality and how it applies to FOIA, so that people sort of understand this, how this works, and the nature, the seriousness of Commissioner Barron's allegations, and how this is gonna be resolved, if it hasn't already been resolved. So that's one component. What happened in the office, since it's already been discussed in a public meeting, is we spoke with the staff person, our MEAT person who administers this program. She has 18 years of experience with this, of helping and assisting farmers through this program. There's elements of this program that is confidential, but it's certainly not confidential to the fiduciaries, which is the board, and our district manager. And I think that that's what was misconstrued by Mr. Barron. As far as a leak of confidentiality that was directed towards me, I haven't even had access to any of the program files. And if I do, or if I did, then I would be bound by confidentiality not to disclose the confidential nature of that. So I wouldn't be able to talk about those programs or who's involved with those unless I receive permission. Does that sound pretty reasonable?
Correct.
And so there hasn't been any breach of confidentiality. There's nothing to investigate. The staffers, I don't know who's said what to whom, but certainly our staff doesn't like to see that, and it's bad attention for the district. So hopefully we nipped it in the bud. That was my own charming self, because I was not able to take the podium, although Commissioner View tried to invite me, and I am a strong advocate of constitutional rights. And I tell you, when the government makes allegations against an individual, I believe they have the right to petition and address or redress their government. So I did that in my 3 minutes, and however that worked out, that's what it is what it is.
Is allegation?
My mother always told me that pointing is rude, so I did not share that image of her, but
Well,
whatever.
allegation just wasn't at you, it was at the district.
Well, of course, cause,
So,
yeah, I mean,
that's a concern
sure,
for all of us
but
sitting there.
it involved me and a conversation. So I had reached out, and I also encouraged Holly to understand better what these confidentialities issues. So I didn't, I wasn't upset that she didn't want to share the files. I wanted to see how the county are enrolled in these programs, especially with the proposal to do immediate work at O.B. Fuller Park to create a new parking lot, pavilion, and playground. It seemed really premature, knowing that area has been managed in the Natural Resources Trust Fund for the last 40 years. There's not a lot of mystery behind that. I mean, there's two big binders of that project that was reviewed back in the 80s. That was in the basement of Pioneer Trail Park. It's been returned to the county. So when I reached out to John Schweitzer, who is the coordinator of the conservation districts for MDARD across the state, Rachel Guth is the regional person, so I consulted with her. I also encouraged Holly to talk to her person down in Lansing, who certifies the MEAP program. And I talked to John Schweitzer and just say, if you can share some of this information for confidentiality, I would be happy to share it with staff and board, and I'll just do it here because it's fairly short. And I'll just read it to you. This is from March 7th. Joe, below are a few citations and excerpts from the status that address MEAP confidentiality and FOIA exemptions. And I should state for the record, FOIA was not involved in this, but of course FOIA is what promotes transparency in government and full participation in government so that you know what your government officials are doing. And believe it or not, I mean, we are elected officials. Doesn't always seem that way, but we are, and we come under state law in that regard. So my understanding, this is again going back to John, is that because the core functions of MEAP is to develop conservation plans and help landowners implement conservation practices defined in reference below, the confidentiality and FOIA exemptions from Part 82 referenced below are applicable to MEAP. And since conservation districts administer the program locally on behalf of the department, they become, quote, authorized representatives of the department, and as such, those conditions would also apply to a conservation district administering MEAP, which is what we do. You know, Heather's the district manager. I'm the chair of the board. But we're the fiduciaries. She's the primary person who oversees the program and the staff, and that's how this is all implemented as far as administrating MEAP and the FAP program. The CTI that Mike Van Wyk was talking about is through the NRCS as part of our partnership. It gets a little confusing, I know, but it makes sense once you spend 40 or 50 hours reading all this stuff. So John wanted to reiterate that this is based on interpretations of statute and has not been litigated. I would also like to reiterate that this should not be considered legal advice. So he gave me the statute that established the Michigan Agriculture Environmental Assurance Program, and that's MCL, Michigan Consolidated Law. So it's a statute, it's passed by the legislature, and that's MCL 324.8710, and that was part of Public Act 451 of 1994, Natural Resources Environmental Policy Act for the state, and this MEAP falls under Part 87, Groundwater and Freshwater Protection. So under the MEAP program, following the review of the proposed tier recognition program submitted to the director, that'd be the director of the Department of Ag, by the council under section 8708, the director shall approve and implement a tiered recognition program. As part of the tiered recognition program, the department shall provide a certificate of progress to a farm participating in MEAP, recognizing each time a new tier is achieved. The certificate of progress shall summarize conservation practices implemented by the farm and the environmental impacts of the implemented conservation practices. The certificate of progress shall recognize the farm for its achievement and encourage the farm to complete the remaining conservation practices necessary for verification. A certificate of progress is valid for 5 years from the date of mailing upon written confirmation by the farmer and the MEAP technician, which is our employee, updating any new conservation practices and confirming that all previous applicable conservation practices are still being implemented. The department shall reissue a certificate of progress for an additional 5-year periods as appropriate until the farm becomes MEAP verified in the applicable system or the farmer ceases implementation of the conservation practices. It's a volunteer program. And this is the important part. Information collected under this section is not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So that provides one of those, there's 29 exemptions under FOIA. And so when you deny a FOIA request, you have to give a reason why under FOIA. There's 29. most of the most common ones, attorney-client privilege is exempt. A public body may exempt from disclosure information of a personal nature that would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of an individual's privacy, medical records, all those things. A lot of those have been worked out in the courts, so it defines the meaning of all this stuff. This one hasn't been challenged in the courts, probably, I'm sure there's maybe never been a meat FOIA, although now there probably will be many. But under exemption D, records or information specifically described and exempted from disclosure by statute. So that's why this program is confidential to the participants that are participating in it. But here's an interesting wrinkle. The county, since they're, as Mr. Barron indicated, is a participant. So all county lands, parklands, and the county forest is evidently enrolled in the MEAT program. I don't know how, I haven't seen the details of it, but if someone was to FOIA the county for the disclosure of what is confidential to us, the county wouldn't be able to use this as an exemption. The county would have to release that information because you're a public body, or the county is a public body. I'm sorry, looking at you, Steve. So while we couldn't share that, the county would be obligated. So that really negates any concerns that Bob Barron had. And then the second part of this is confidentiality exemption from Freedom of Information Act. This is MCL 324-8207. Any information voluntarily provided by a person in connection with the department implementation or verification of a conservation plan or conservation practices under this part is confidential, is exempt from disclosure under the Freedom of Information Act, and is not open to public inspection without the person's consent. So when you see someone like on the Michigan, when you see a farmer talking about how great the program is and all this, assistance they've gotten, they voluntarily have closed that. So that's pretty much it. I haven't even seen the county's MEAT program or certification, so I respect, Holly wanted to do her due diligence, and I encouraged her. Thankfully, she hasn't had any concerns from any farmers that are involved in the program. No one's called her saying, why is Joe Kaplan going around and sharing all the secrets. But I can assure you that, it hasn't happened in the past, and most certainly I think now, there would be no reason to be concerned about it in the future. That's all I think I have to say.
Well, no.
Took more than 3 minutes though.
Well, no.
I would have loved to have done this last Tuesday. Actually, the truth is, I didn't even know this last Tuesday. But I know how FOIA works, I know how government works, and anyhow, there was no leak of information, and I still haven't seen any of the county files. So I can't tell you what's in there, but I would encourage you to do your due diligence since you're the landowner that's has their lands enrolled in our programs. Any questions? Cool. Did I miss anything, Mike? You know this a lot better than I do.
I don't know anything about the city. I'd rather stay out of it.
Best answer.
Yeah.
Conservation, not controversy.
Yes. Gosh, wouldn't that be a lovely world? Yeah. All right, that's it. We can move on to general public comment. 3 minutes. Bob Van Dam,
I won't
please.
take near that long, Joe. So if I just wanna make sure I heard you right, if I'm involved in MEAT program, which I have been for years and years, and our CS programs, my personal information is not FOIAble?
Nothing about your program is FOIAble.
Can the Soil Conservation Board still look at say, I'm in this program and I get $400 a year? Is that information that's available? So if somebody has that information, they broke the law, basically. That's all, my only question.
Well, I can, we're
Yeah,
responsible for the program.
Absolutely,
So
but do you get my personal information? Bob Van Dam gets $400 a year from planting trees or bushes or whatever. Do you get that information?
As the chair, I would have the right to look at that.
Okay,
As far as, well, you know what?
So-
I'm gonna back up a little bit because I'm really waiting for.
well,
the-
then you just gave me two answers. You
No,
said.
no, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna back up because actually I haven't looked at the programs because I'm waiting to hear back from MDARD. But as it's been explained to me, because we're the fiduciaries, you know, people would be sworn to confidentiality, but
Right.
ultimately, someone besides the program tech, I mean, oversight. So, yeah, so it'd be like, you know, if I had attorney-client privilege, I have all the attorney files from the district going back to the beginning, but I can't just disclose that information.
So individual records then are available to the board.
Not USDA.
I mean, I know Holly has them and Mike and
Not
them have them
USDA
because,
program, so our rules
Yeah.
are different
Yep,
than
yep.
the MDR rules, so. and,
Okay.
The way I understand it, certain things are foible, cause there's websites out there.
I'm not even worried about foible. I'm just wondering if they can walk in the office and look at them. I wanna see
No.
a certain person's record. They can't do that.
Who's they?
So if somebody has my information, they broke the law. That's all I want to basically get on record here. If somebody has my personal records, Bob Van Dam got and I'm just using 400 off the top of my head. They broke the law to get that information. Well, it's gotta be a yes or a no. I mean, is it against the law or isn't
No, I
it?
got a question. Who's? but
It's
you
like
gotta-
being a little bit pregnant.
You got, no, you gotta identify, hey, Bob, you gotta identify who they are. So you're talking
Well,
about.
I'm not gonna tell you who it is. If a person,
No. Well-
if a person has it and got it, that means they broke the law. That's all I wanna know.
No,
Be
because,
awfully suspicious.
but I'm gonna say,
Okay.
hey, Bob, I'm gonna say something. There's a person that works for the state of Michigan who has that information.
Well, certainly, I know.
Okay,
I
and there's
know.
a person that works for the district that has that information.
Absolutely.
And
We
there's-
sign the contracts together. I know that person. I trust that person.
Right.
There's people that I don't trust though that are getting that information. And I'm in the process right now through an attorney to find out how they got it.
Well, no one got your information through the district.
Well, I want it on record, Joe, that it would be illegal. That's all.
Well, it depends on who you're, I mean, we're waiting to hear from MDARD. Certainly wouldn't be illegal for our district manager to
Well,
look at
certainly
it.
not, and certainly not for Holly. We signed the contracts
Wow.
together. But
The
if Joe
fiduciary-
Bowl out in the public came up to me and said, boy, I hear through the conservation district, you're getting all kinds of money. Now, that didn't happen.
Right,
But
right.
somebody did come up to me with the exact information of a program I'm in.
Wow.
Well, it
So
didn't come-
like I said, I'm in the process right now. I want the board's reaction though. Is it legal or not legal?
We don't know. That's the questions we're asking
Okay.
MDARD.
Is
Okay.
it a definite program that's a MEPS program or
It's a MEP
is
pro-
it a USDA program? Because
It's a
any
MEP program.
governmental money that's given from the USDA, there is a website that's available to the
Yeah,
public.
absolutely.
That tells everything.
This is
And
a MEP
and that's astounding.
This is a MEP
The
program.
amount of money that's out there.
Yeah.
And what people,
Yeah.
what landowners and farmers.
Okay, that answers my question.
Yeah,
Thank
what
you.
I can tell you is that Holly has asked MDARD and I've asked MDARD to run it through their legal. But, you know, as elected officials and by statute, as the fiduciary of this responsibility, I mean, when you're elected, I mean, I'm not gonna make a point of going through your records to see how much money you're getting, because I don't care. But do I have a legal right to do so? MDARD's gonna have to answer that question. But what has been conveyed to me is like, yeah. Just like if we had a new district manager, I mean, it doesn't really say, this program doesn't say who gets to see this, but you have to have, you have to be elected by statute, so if.
Right, but yous can't give it to the public.
Oh, heck
Correct.
no,
Okay,
Correct.
that's all I wanted to know.
yeah, through FOIA.
That would be illegal.
As far as what I'm reading here, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So if
That's all
your
I need.
information got out there,
That's it, yeah. That's all I need to
give
know.
a call, we'll find out why.
And that's the same for USDA. Anytime
Yeah.
anybody that's not the participant on that contract, if they request information, it goes through our FOIA folks. We have experts, you know, we're the federal
Okay.
government, so we've got experts in everything. It gets routed to them and then addressed there, so.
That clears it up. Thank you.
Right. Anyone else for general public comment? General public comment,
I'll make a comment on that.
please.
When I was working there, Howard told me that everything was private
Mhm.
and not allowed, so I
Good.
never asked, never looked,
Yeah,
never cared.
and
That's
I
what
have,
the
and,
program-
and I have no issue with Holly or anybody who works there, believe me, not a thing.
Right.
They're great to work. I've said 100 times. I think every farmer should go there. They're so helpful.
Oh,
NRCS, the MEP, all of them.
Yeah, and that certainly hasn't changed with the change of the board.
Yeah.
That's an acknowledgement.
What's that?
I said, that's just, and you're acknowledging that,
Acknowledging what?
that hasn't changed
He
with the
doesn't
change of the board or the staff.
No, the staff is great. Staff
No,
is
I mean,
fantastic.
yeah, the board and staff now, upholding the same level of.
Yeah, the staff is the only ones I deal with, and they're great, just like they've always been.
Right.
Yep.
Anybody else for public comment?
Just quick, I think the board and the public has to be careful because I've been involved with this stuff for a while, and USDA NRCS is a separate thing from MEP and FAP. But so those are very hard to get a hold of, even through MDA. I don't believe the manager, the board, or anybody else, if you get a hold of MDA, can pull a forest management plan that's in QFP. And you can ask Lindsay on that, because I've tried to help landowners, and only the landowner can access that plan once it's enrolled in QFP. So you got 2 state programs, really all the federal programs, but you have 2 conservation tax helping Mike there, and then the other 2 are state programs. They're all in rules, so just kind of keep it separate, because sometimes it gets blended and people are all over, so just an FYI, I guess, for what it's worth.
Yeah, and we have confidentiality policies within our personnel policy, and nobody knows how Bob Barron was able to relay a conversation that happened in our office, so you would have to ask him directly. It didn't
Yeah,
come from
I'd
me.
like to
It
speak
didn't-
on that.
What?
I try to, I try to stay quiet on this stuff, but the thing that happened is, truly, is on the day, I wasn't even there when the initial conversation happened. I was not at the office. That was between Joe and Holly. That was it. And then we found out that Lindsay was also in the building, but I was not even there, so
Yeah.
I didn't even hear that conversation.
This has nothing to do with that conversation.
But it does in a way, because I just wanna say
Oh.
that, I have never heard of a board member, whether it's, allowed, we're looking into that, but I have never heard or seen on my watch or my knowledge, best of my ability, that anybody hasn't looked at those files except for the person and that technician. And that's, as far as I know, that's how it is right now. Nobody's looked at it, to my knowledge. I just wanted to say that on record.
And what was conveyed by Bob Barron was my interest in seeing how the county lands are enrolled. That's it, so.
Yeah, that was nothing to do with my conversation.
Well, in a way, because it opens the door as, I guess I took it, like it was hurtful when I saw that happen at the meeting, because I work at the conservation district, I want people to trust the conservation district. There are great programs out there that everybody's worked hard for, Rory's worked hard for them, all the staff have worked hard to get these programs there, and the board now, and the previous board, so I took it very personal, like, no, we are not there to share anybody's confidentiality or breach that, and I want these programs to keep going. So I guess, to me, I don't want you to even feel like that, and
No,
I
no,
apologize if there's something going on, but.
To me, it was more the legal aspect. I want,
Okay.
find out, because maybe they are allowed to, I don't know.
No.
That was just a fact finding.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, MDARD is looking at this, so, and whatever their guidance is,
Yeah.
that's what we follow to a T, and
And I know how government works.
a little bit slow.
Yeah.
But, government works slow, so we're not, we're just kind of on pause. I'll reflect what Heather said, or reiterate, it was a shock to hear Bob Barron talk about a conversation that happened in our office, so. not as a breach of confidentiality, but as a discrimination sort of thing. This county's not discriminated against. All right, anybody else for public comment? Kelly, thank you.
Yep, if you could just address in, your board member comment whether or not you have been invited, by Ashley or by any member of the board, or asked, by Ashley, or have you asked yourself to the board to be placed on the next agenda, because about the MEP, confidentiality breach, they said they were gonna give you 2 weeks and then you would be able to address the issue. And I just think it's imperative that you are placed on the agenda, so you are given unlimited time to talk about this.
Okay.
So if you could just address that in your staff comment, please, or your board member comment.
Anybody else, public comment?
I,
Steve, you, Commissioner.
I'd like to address that because I had the same concerns you had. I did rate our administrator and I put a little line in there. For me, it would be important to permit all parties involved, and this is with that program, to address the board and that the board receive this information early enough to read it and digest it. By doing so, we can improve transparency and accountability. So I ask any members, I'm requesting it, I'm only one voice and we'll see what happens.
Anybody else, public comment? Great. Board member comments. I think that's where we're at, right? Yeah, board member comments. Nate?
No, I don't have anything to comment at this time.
All right, Glenn?
Yeah, I'm pleased that the tree sale is moving ahead, and hopefully I've been on a little bit of angst about it, but it seems to be coming off the way it should. And pleased that the technology is stood up to its task. And I also appreciate where you're going with the staff and working with them and doing diligence to articulate goals with how the district internally works.
That's one.
So that's very important, and it means a lot to me and the rest of us, I'm sure. So, thank you very much.
Michael Sidorsky?
Thank you. Yeah, I wanna actually make a comment about,
Thank you.
Mr. Barron's accusations and, but thank you for providing, I have to read this because it gets a little bit intense. Thank you for providing John Switzer's very thorough analysis and response on this very important MDART matter. I find the actions and accusations by Delta County Commissioner Robert Barron to be troubling. I'm concerned that the deceitful manner in which our county commissioner would dream up such a false narrative, that didn't make sense, but that makes sense. To me, it seems as though Commissioner Barron has become the county commission's bully, trying to pick a fight with Soil Conservation District. I question what has angered Robert Barron so much that he has to strike out at those around him, and especially the district board. I'll say no more about this unless it continues. Thank you.
All right, thanks. You know, the county's business is the county's business. They want me to address the board on their agenda. That's up to them. Otherwise, I'll just, if there's a need, I'll exercise my First Amendment rights during the 3 minutes at the podium. You can do a lot in 3 minutes, but you can be a lot more productive with more time. So I think we've cleared the air here with that, and that's all I have to say. No further ado, can I get a motion to adjourn?
For one. Now, second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye. Call this one at 6:35. Thank you very much for attending.